Hey, what's up folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. So on this channel, we review a lot of custom PC cases, and a lot of them have a unique approach in PC case design, but this kind of takes the cake for probably being the most interesting computer case that I've had the pleasure of using. It's the Streacom DB4 Fanless chassis. Essentially what this is half modern art and half PC case. So what you're looking at is actually a case that is very beautifully constructed with high-grade CNC aluminum construction, and in fact it resembles kind of a CPU heatsink itself. Now the key thing, as we mentioned before, as in the title, there are no fans in this specific build, although if you add a GPU you will thus add a fan to that component. But if you decide just to go with a standard ITX build, the actual CPU cooler is a passive unit comprised of 4 individual copper heat pipes that makes direct contact with the external aluminum panels that surrounds the PC case, thus creating a large overall surface area to dissipate the heat generated from the CPU. Now, based on the installation process outlined in the manual, I got relatively comfortable temperatures using my AMD A4 7800 dual-core processor. It idled around anywhere between 25 to 30 degrees, and at full load using Prime 95, after about 45 minutes, the maximum temperature reached up to 71 degrees, which is a fairly safe rating for this specific CPU. Sure, you'll no doubt get a better overall thermal performance with a traditional heatsink and fan combination unit, but the trade-off on this side is going to be the fact that this is a completely silent PC. The entire system itself has no moving parts and no fans whatsoever, since we're using a single SSD drive. I would also highly recommend to check out the ZF240 fanless power supply unit. It's basically a 93% efficiency PSU that has 240 watts in total. That's not a lot of power to play around with, but it's perfectly fine for this build over here and most CPU specific builds. And if you're going to add a GPU, I wouldn't go beyond the GTX 1050 Ti that we have over here. The big benefit obviously is the size and the fact that there's no fans, no moving parts, and it's very high efficiency, so it's perfect for this build over here. And for anybody looking for a completely silent workstation PC or even a low-grade gaming PC, this is probably one of the few completely silent PC platforms out there. Now, some of the other factors of this PC case from a dimensional standpoint is that it measures around 260 by 260 millimeters, so it's a perfect cube formation. It's about 270 millimeters in terms of height, so it's not the most compact ITX case out there, but it's gonna fit perfectly in most people's desks. The other interesting thing is that the aluminum panels themselves are made out of really high premium grade 6063 aluminum construction, and they're 4 millimeters in terms of thickness, and this is some heavy duty expensive material to kind of work with, and especially due to the fact that they're individually CNC, there's a lot of labor that goes into making a PC case like this compared to every other budget configuration rig that you're going to find out there. Now, internally there's room for an ITX motherboard, as well as up to 5 3.5-inch drives and 12 2.5-inch SSDs. So there's plenty of room for all your storage drives, including fanless PSU unit, which is not included with the case itself. It is a separate purchase, as we mentioned before. Now, probably one of the biggest compromises to this case design is the fact that the motherboard is facing down, so all the I/O is actually at the bottom of the case, along with the 2 USB Type 3 connections, as well as the power on and off switches. That means that you're probably going to have to invest in some USB hubs and external port extenders to get convenient access to all those connectivity options that you would need to use on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you're a regular watcher to our channel, you see that this is not just the only case that has this kind of design issue. A couple of months back, you may remember we reviewed the prototype version of the Bottlenecks PC case, which is still in development, and that had all the I/O facing at the bottom of the case, and looks like this is going to be kind of a common problem that we're going to come across when we're looking at these kind of unique one-off PC case designs that have the motherboard facing in a more vertical orientation. Now, as we mentioned before, we did test out the GTX 1050 Ti on this PC case. Although it's really not designed for, I think, a discrete graphics card, you can still use one. There's still a bit of airflow at the bottom where you can exhaust all the hot air out of the GPU, but again, it's going to defeat the purpose of having a completely silent build when you're going to include a GPU GPU like this. If you're going to go with a passive GPU, one that has no fans or a very quiet fan, that may be a better solution, but the gaming performance on the 1050 Ti is probably going to be a lot better. It's one of the best 1080p gaming GPUs that you can get out there right now. But besides all that stuff, guys, that's really it. Generally speaking, I'm really liking the case, especially if you're going to make a completely silent and compact PC build. This is an excellent direction to go to. I'd definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on this unit over here. But besides all that, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later. Take care.